ways, which are a combination of trails, lanes, and routes, pretty well designed. The most fortunate of all is the beautiful greenway that comes from the park, actually it's a huge greenway, but it comes through the university and takes from the university directly down again to Farris. Remember, Farris is the center of Uptown, and bringing the students there makes sense, but also the students want to go up to the mall and up to the town center. We dropped, originally we thought that, Lexington would be the main trajectory. We dropped it. It's too violent and it doesn't lead to the center of things. So if you see our original contract, it says we have to design Jefferson, and we said no, Lexington, we're going to design Farris instead. That turns out to be the center. So there it is. And of course, one of your great high point, I think, early entrepreneurs was Mr. Thomas, who made the streetcars for everybody, including New Orleans. So here you have a tradition. By the way, the streetcars we're talking about are more or less like this one. Don't do anything high speed and scary. Nobody likes them. You know, this is a really sociable streetcar. The other genius is this, and I think that this guy is the equivalent of Henry Ford for the 21st century. This is your North Carolina Malcolm McLean, and he invented the shipping container. Where would the world be without shipping containers? Just speculate about that. Loading the furniture into wooden crates, you know, nothing coming from China. Amazing person. And it's fortunate that he's from North Carolina, because many of our ideas have to do with shipping containers instead of buildings. That coincides with the most creative initiatives having right now in architecture schools and among young people, and exactly the entrepreneurs that I was speaking about earlier. We want to get in cheap. We want to get in so we can incubate. A container, slightly used, costs $1,000. It's amazing, and you can inhabit it. You know, there's nothing quite like a container in terms of affordable both storage and housing. And this is your guy from North Carolina. Now, the second part, notice that there are no containers so far. By the way, the word he would have used is SEA-CAN, SEA-CAN, because it was a container for sea shipping. Okay, so SEA-CANs, there were no SEA-CANs so far, but the downtown is locked up. Remember, there are no shops. What are we supposed to revitalize? There is no shop, and even the market buildings, the big building and the exhibition building, lock up between events. We literally have nothing to work with except parking lots. And no one is going to actually spend any money on a real building until we prove that the real buildings have value. Do you know that mill buildings are being sold from between $1.50 and $25 a square foot? Okay, right now, you know, within the last couple of months. There is no market for real estate. We can't start, you know, in a normal building, decent, costs $125 a square foot. There is no market. We can build nothing. We have to make this place sufficiently cool as a first generation that then people can properly come in and build buildings. Unless we want to subsidize everybody to do everything, and that's not even exciting. You know, you end up with sheetrock palaces, and the kids have seen that, and they're not interested. They're interested in SEA-CANs. So everything we've done downtown is an absolute, you know, is dependent upon the SEA-CAN. So let's go. So here you are, just to orient you. This is the exhibition building. This is the big building. This is your Central Civic Square, very prominent, happens to be a parking lot. You have a precious site here, you know, facing east that's open. Perfect location for a civic building. Of course, this is your town hall. This is a hotel. By the way, if you listen to us, your town hall won't have to grow because we're not that interested in increasing bureaucracy. So you can stay there. A poor old hotel facing the wrong way, which goes to show you the opinion that it has of your presumably civic square. And it's now being renovated. And then an interesting place back here, which is a pit, which we've done quite a lot for. And then just over here, from here on Kivett Street, from here to here, down to here, just that L and a little bit here, is the only urban fabric you have of shop fronts that's the equivalent of your favorite places, which are Elm Street in Greensboro, and what's the one in Winston-Salem? 4th Street in Winston-Salem. You know, we can't do something out of nothing, and those are your main streets. By the way, they're kind of full over here. There's a fantastic crepe store, actually the best food. True urban pioneer, ready to go on the next shop, and absolutely nothing happening on Grand. Grand is amazingly Main. Maine is amazingly awful, sorry, if you own one of those businesses, but it is. And then here you have a beautiful parking lot that belongs to the North State Communications, and they're underutilizing it radically. Only, I saw it every hour of the night and day, only half the parking spaces are used. It's got 2 trays, and the tray to the north is not being used. And here you have an empty building, also belonging to North State Communications, which would be a great kids museum. Okay, and it wasn't our idea, somebody mentioned it. So I looked at it and I said, we visited the kids museum, of course it's for sale, etc. But I said, how many millions will it take to turn that into a kids museum? Why not do something really cool with sea cans for the kids? Okay, so we had an idea there. We also have, facing these pretty nice storefronts on Kivett, is open parking lots. A desert of parking lots. Mostly owned by Wells Fargo. And of course, you can't have a main street that's not two-sided. I mean, we're not a strip shopping center here. And so we have another set, a very thin liner set of sea cans here, totally cool in its layout to make cafes and so forth. And there's a beautiful slide. We had a wonderful architect from Alabama, very young woman, who's doing these on the beach, and they're just to die for. She takes 3 sea cans, puts awnings on them, and you just want to spend all day there. And unfortunately, I forgot to put one of her projects here, but we'll show you her design. And then at the last moment, somebody said, could we please, we miss our ability to meet. You know, before this International Market Center was bought by Bain Capital, they used to let us use the open spaces. We would do things down there. We could have, we could have smaller conventions. We could have the fly fish conventions. The kids could have their senior proms. Like, you could actually do things downtown. And Bain Capital has a different business model that locks it up also. It's all fully leased. So you're left quite a substantial town, which you are, and a wealthy one too, without a single large space in which to meet. So I asked around and I said, what do you want? They said, well, we'd like to be big enough for basketball to see, just to incubate the basketball team for High Point, but what we really want is to be able to seat between 1,500 and 2,000 people. We said, check. And then we want to have the smaller conventions that'll help us actually get rid of our spikes, of our big spikes. There are all sorts of people that we could have a convention here. It would help with the hotels, it would help with the inn, it would help with the restaurant. So we said, fine, we got that. And then the other thing was the white building here, which I'll talk to you about, which is it's a building that's had 4 names. It's that white high-rise, I'll show it to you. And the best plan, when I arrived here, it belongs to the International Market Center, and they said, we'll give it away, but we want you to demolish it. Profoundly unecological, profoundly uncreative. So, in order to make not an auditorium, an amphitheater, an outdoor amphitheater. So we work with that too. Okay, so let me show you. I'm a little skeptical about this idea here, putting trees everywhere, but one of you asked for that, and of course it's the easy thing to do, to make a place look instantly great. It's shady, it's nice. I think that's an awful lot of money, to landscape the trains. Somebody asked for that, to landscape from Washington Street coming in from there and so forth. But I think that a couple of landscaping initiatives should take place. This main square doesn't need to be a parking lot. You can actually put trees on the edge under which you can park exactly the same number of cars that you have now and clear the center for a beautiful lawn, which in fact is the size of a football field. Not that you play football, just to give you a sense of size. And that would be suitable, that would be a worthy civic square. The open site here is a precious site in the future. Right now, no one has an idea, it's an open parking lot. We have put in our master plan that that is to be reserved for a civic building. It is absolutely reserved. It has to be civic because it is the cross-axis of your future, of your town center. Okay, you can't go around finding another place. When you're finally going to build an auditorium or a future city hall or something else, you can't be competing with a dead supermarket somewhere for a site. It's the exact cross-axis. So this is not, from our point of view, this is not permitted to be anything but a civic building, okay? And then some landscaping here and there, but the basic thing is I'm a little down on all that landscaping. I'd like to see it concentrated here, and because this street called Commerce is such a misery, it's really quite mind-boggling. And there's nothing but loading docks and blank walls, and yet this is the principal artery of the people who come to your town actually to buy furniture. It's absolutely amazing. You know, they go up and down, the bulk of your, and I think that perhaps international, the market can be induced to actually make it civilized. So we did so what we're actually proposing here is this for landscaping, Commerce Street, the town square, and we designed a very inexpensive but magnificent auditorium here because you called for it. So let's go, and I'll show you. Okay, the first thing is your storefronts, okay? The nice places that you have. Now let me get myself oriented here. This here, I believe I am right in this. No, this here is the best, from here to here is the best chance you have at having a storefront. Okay, this is where the shops are. This is of course is Main here, going down to the town center. This is Wells Fargo, and these are Wells Fargo's parking lots, which are preventing this from being a double-sided street. So, you know, for what I would call the middle-class family, not even middle class, for the family segment, this is what makes the most sense, okay? And here's another picture of it in the other direction. I believe this is in the other direction. Let's see, where am I here? Okay, here it is. So underneath here are decent stores, almost I don't know how many, probably 800 feet of decent stores, and in front, nothing but miserable parking lots. So the scheme that we're saying is, okay, you're welcome to keep your enormous drive-through. I don't know what, you know, what they were thinking when they built the famous 12-lane drive-through downtown. But I would say certainly from here to here, if we could please have the first 30 feet of underutilized parking to provide a temporary masking building to make a double-sided street. Okay, so this is where it is. These are the existing buildings with the good shops. This is the terrible parking, and we're proposing just that much. These are C-cans, taking almost no parking at all out, but having a tremendous effect. Okay, there it is further up close. C-cans are very light. Liner buildings hold the street space without spending a lot of money, and it looks like that. Okay, where you stack them up, you have stairs up and down, cafes. By the way, this is a much better drawing than this projector shows. But these are very hot little cafes and things completing the street. The storefront is on the other side, and of course, the stores on the other side will need a wider sidewalk. This is now going down Kivett. We just showed you that. This is the empty building of North State Communications. This is the existing North State, and this is the double parking lobe of which that side is not used. And instead of renovating the building at millions and millions and millions of dollars. For a small fraction of that, we could have a much cooler museum if we can, a kids museum, if we can borrow this tray of parking. And taking up the diagonal, right? This is the tray that we're keeping. If we use this tray, we can incubate a museum, which, by the way, in the end, could connect to the entrance of the building. I mean, we could connect it, you know, once you're successful. So we designed this set of sea cans like that with courtyards. And by the way, above, here it is. It's this lobe of parking. You see the cars that are here, they can all fit here. There's absolutely no need for this. And notice how this one lines up directly on the entrance. So if you remove this street, and this becomes a successful incubator for the museum, you can actually enter a much larger building. The key, I think, to this kids' playground is that the parents have something to do. And so at the edges of this playground, 3 enclosed courtyards with really cool, slightly dangerous things to do. If they want safe, they can go to the McDonald's, you know, whatever, or Chuck E. Cheese. But, you know, this is more fun than usual. And the parents on the edges are actually drinking coffee and having beer and having a chat while their kids play in the courtyards, which I know parents are, and this is what it looks like. We stack them up, and it's a series of courtyards like that. It can be powered by solar devices to just sort of tread the, you know, get the kids worked up about that. They don't really come to the 3rd floor. That's just visual. It's mostly one set, and then above, the kids can climb to the 2nd floor to use slides. And it looks like that. So they enter here, and there's a courtyard with a covered area, and the parents are all on the side with their Starbucks, and the slides come down, and there's a 2nd courtyard, and a 3rd courtyard, and a 4th courtyard, and it comes out. The thing, again, boy, if you could see my rendering. I mean, my screen is so much better, but when you get the report, you'll be able to really see it. And you get the courtyard like this, which is not lugubrious. It's the projector being unfortunate. And this is what it looks like from the street. A total kid magnet. You know, not only because of the way it looks, and what does it cost? I mean, this thing, we're talking about $40,000 in containers. We're not talking about insulation. We're talking about, you know, a sand floor, shredded rubber. We're talking about very, very little money, but a huge effect and really fun. And that's how you incubate things. Low cost. In fact, if you had more money, I wouldn't even be interested. You know, you say, well, why don't we skip this and go ahead and do the $6 million kids museum? Why? To be like every other kids museum in the world? That's not even that much fun. You know? This is fun. And it looks like fun, and it probably is, and it can be continually programmed by the parents. You know, what they bring in there. And by the way, the kids don't even have to agree, and the parents don't have to agree. That's why we have 4 courtyards, so they can actually have preference. One of them may even bring dogs in. You know, imagine that. Boy, that's going to bring the lawyers out. A dog and a kid in the same park, oh my God. Anyway. And this is the kind of stuff that happens. A slide that actually comes off the 2nd floor. Whoa. Swings that really you can swing in and out. Anyway, it's quite a place. And by the way, this is meant to be an opening thing. This is a screen or a glass, and the parents are all along the edges. And of course, this is something which is probably that shredded rubber stuff that the kids can fall and not hurt themselves. And of course, up here, not so much here, are the solar devices. The other thing, okay, so we're talking about, I showed you 2A, which were the cafes on Kivett. 2B is the playground. 2C is this fantastic pit in the back, which can be entered from Main Street here. And this is the place that gets all the young people excited. By the way, just so you start working yourself up, there's a party at 8 o'clock there tonight. That's, you know, with bands and lights, and completely impromptu, completely tactical, and just to prove that actually we can survive this. And the city council, you know, we don't want to break the ice. We want to just go for it. You know, we want to jump. And you know what? You know, I've been there with all kinds of humans. I've made 4 trips, followed by people, and all sorts of people of every age and every fitness, and they all